have to put my mic back on. I stepped on the wire and pulled it off myself. Okay. Can you hear me? No, Robin can't hear me, and Danielle can't hear me. Okay. Now, can you hear me? A little bit better? Should it be lots more better? How about that? Can you hear me there?
Yeah.
Now it's okay? Okay, okay. Word from the back says okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone to our multi-platform service for the Unitarian Church of Staten Island. We're so grateful to have you with us this morning. For those of you in person, you're invited to join us in the Parish Hall for hospitality after the service. And for those joining us online, we send special greetings. We hope you take a moment to introduce yourselves in the chat box. After the service, you are all invited to a virtual coffee hour. The women's gathering will be meeting via Zoom each Monday evening beginning at 7:30. Check-in will begin at 7:45. The gathering ends around 9 p.m. Please contact Kathy Santo if you wish to join us. Men's gathering. You can join the men of the church as they gather in person and via Zoom every other Monday evening for fellowship and discussion. You can video call into these or phone into these gatherings. Please contact Tom Saluga, who is sitting right over there, for more details. The Spiritual Growth Circle. The Spiritual Growth Circle meets every second and fourth Sunday at 1 p.m. in the library, which is behind us, and all are welcome to join. Please support our social media outreach. Please like and share our weekly posts on Facebook and Instagram, and remember that all of our services are on YouTube. For those joining us in person, we gently remind you to please silence your mobile devices at this time. And now, let us prepare for this morning's service. The members of the Worship Guild struggled to figure out how to produce a Seder like the ones we used to do in the past in our parish hall. They were lovely gatherings with colorful tableware and flowers and all the ritual foods for the Seder plate. Unfortunately, we just don't have the man and woman power that we had in the pre-COVID years to organize such an ambitious undertaking. So we decided to revert to a hybrid version, like the one we performed virtually during the pandemic, with multiple readers and ritual food only in the imagination of the viewers. But this year, with the opportunity to gather in the parish hall for a buffet luncheon afterwards, and that was provided by a core group of UCSI member volunteers and guests who also volunteered. And yet there's something in the austerity of today's gathering that is very much in keeping with the suffering that is being inflicted on the people of Palestine, not only in Gaza, but in the West Bank as well. We felt it was important to present a Haggadah that recognized the unspeakable horror of the genocide that is continuing in Gaza. We borrowed the 2024 Jewish Voice for Peace, Exodus from Zionism, and edited it to its essentials for a reading in our sanctuary. Except for Sarah Rachel, we readers are not Jews, but rather allies who are speaking in the voices of all the Jewish members and friends of Jewish Voice for Peace who created this Haggadah. In this spirit, we present their words and our message for all to hear.
Alrighty. I invite you to join me now in lighting our chalice. You can find the affirmation in your order of service. We light this chalice in the search for truth and the spirit of love. We unite in worship and fellowship. As an extension of lighting our chalice, I want to take a moment of silence to light these 3 candles for some of the names of those who have recently been affected by police brutality. We cannot cover all the names of those affected. We light a candle for Jakarta A. Jackson. We light a candle for the life of Arthur Lee Armstrong, Jr. Back up. We light this candle for the life of Torrell Dante Clay. May these lights be a symbol of our commitment to continue the work of racial justice and to proclaim that all lives matter, to proclaim that Black lives matter, I'm sorry. In addition, we are lighting a fourth candle to recognize the impact of war on so many innocent people. May we find a way to live in peace.
And now is the time where we take an offering. We know it is the gifts of all of us to help support our ability to thrive and gather. For those attending in person, we will pass the collection plate. Please use the envelope you'll find in the pew. Write your name and indicate if your offering is part of your pledge or is a donation. For those online, links and instructions will be posted in the chat. You can mail us a check or donate through the PayPal giving page on our website. Please give as generously as you can. Our offerings will be gratefully received. Thank you.
We did 1, 2, 3.
We have never been in a narrower place. This Passover, we cannot hold Seder as usual. The meal cannot be festive while the people of Gaza are facing famine. And the questions of liberation are not theoretical. This year's Jewish holiday of liberation urges every one of us to step up our commitment to the liberation of the Palestinian people. May our ancient tradition be of service to all of us in this sacred obligation. In this spirit, we created this Haggadah.
Israel is a 76-year-old state. While the Israeli government purports to speak in the name of all Jews and worse, uses Jewish traditions as weapons against Palestinians, we refuse. We are wrestling back our beloved tradition from these oppressive co-optations and rerooting in the values passed to us. We reclaim our holiday of liberation as part of reclaiming Judaism from and building it beyond Zionism. We organize our people and we resist Zionism, not only as an act of solidarity with Palestinians, but also because we love Jews, Jewishness, and Judaism, and are committed to creating the Jewish futures we all deserve. We are fighting for a thriving Judaism and Jewish communities, for a multiplicity of Jewish cultures, and for the future of the Jewish people, just as we fight for the future of all peoples.
In the words of the poet and activist Aurora Levins Morales,
This time we cannot cross until we carry each other. All of us refugees, all of us prophets. No more taking turns on history's wheel, trying to collect old debts no one can pay. The sea will not open for us. This time, that country is what we promise each other. Our rage pressed cheek to cheek until tears flood the spaces between, until there are no enemies left, because this time no one will be left to drown, and all of us must be chosen. This time, it's all of us or none. Through this journey, may we better understand what it might mean to truly carry each other as we continue our struggle for permanent ceasefire, Palestinian freedom, and collective liberation. May it be so.
Take a deep breath. You have made it to the Seder, to this consecrated place where we tell and tell again stories of liberation and justice being built. Take a deep breath. You have made it. Through a year of struggle, of solidarity, of heartbreak, you have bravely crossed the sea. Take a deep breath. Even as we give thanks for the gift of being together at this time, we take a moment of silence in memory of all of those we have lost in the past year since we last sat at the Passover table together. They may be family or personal loved ones. They may be people who are killed by state-sponsored violence. They may be people who died for the cause of liberation.
The first cup of wine traditionally holds the role of sanctifying the ritual itself and the space of the Seder itself. Reflecting on what this means within the context of ongoing genocide is difficult. It's not difficult to appreciate this community or how valuable it is to gather with other anti-Zionist Jews, allies, and comrades. The difficulty bubbles up when considering the meaning of sanctification. A common definition of sanctification is to set apart for special use or purpose. Many of us say that Gaza is ever present, and yet we know that as we witness, we are also quite separate from it, set apart. So, the offer with this first cup is to reflect on this separation. Sarah Aziza, a Palestinian American, in her essay, The Work of Witness, shares.
Rather, we, those outside of Palestine, watching events through a screen, ought to think of ourselves in relation to the legacy of the Shaheed, the martyr. Our work as witnesses is to be marked. We should not leave it unscathed. We must try to stay with what we see, allowing ourselves to be cut. The wound is essential. Into this wound, imagination may pour, not to invade others' subjectivity, but to awaken awe at the depth, privacy, and singularity of each life. There we might glimpse, if sidelong, how much of Gaza's suffering we will never know. This is where real witness must begin, in mystery. Or, much better expressed in the words of my cousin, the pharmacist.
I continue to insist. We have not gotten used to bombing, and we are afraid of everything happening to us. We have not gotten used to the sight of suffering. No, it always breaks our hearts. We have not gotten used to the massacres perpetrated by the occupation. No, for every martyr, there was a life. L'chaim.
Imagine there is a bowl of water, a cup, and a towel near your table. As we help each other to wash our hands, we reflect on the mutual dependence that water creates. We commit to work for justice and others rather than in isolation. Because Jewish tradition is that nothing is drunk or consumed without first being blessed, we bless the water and the salt before dipping the karpas. Nevarech et ne harayanot, ne ham chaim or ne han harot, mayim chaim harim ko chai.
Let us bless the living waters, fountains and well springs, rivulets, rivers, and streams that sustain all life.
In tonight's sacred community, we cannot say water and not also say Gaza, where Israeli apartheid had already severely limited clean water for 2 million people for years, even before this horrendous campaign of utter destruction.
We know that tonight in Gaza, people have almost no water to drink, to cook, to bathe their children, to mix formula or medicines, or to clean wounds.
Before we drink water now, and any time we raise water to our lips tonight, we say,
Gaza, we will never forget you. We will never forsake you. We will never stop fighting for you until all of your people live safe and free.
I had a dream. I spilled a sack of salt in the road. No matter, my friend said, we don't need salt. But I remembered my grandmother sending me little burlap bags of salt from Florida. And I said, that's the trouble with us. Salt is an electrolyte. We need it to conduct electricity, the good feelings between us. No wonder we don't have the connections we need. We don't have enough salt.
Life as we know it on this planet exists because of a few inches of topsoil and reservoirs of fresh water. In our ancestors' days, deforestation caused massive soil loss and drought that upended empires and civilizations. Some anthropologists believe the story of the expulsion from Eden is a cultural memory of the devastation that happened when land was first clear-cut to grow wheat and barley, when in Eden gave way to floods, drought, and cyclical starvation.
In our day, in our empire, commercial agriculture is decimating topsoil. Staggeringly large and inappropriate development is draining and salinizing fresh water. Fossil fuel extraction is so vast, it is causing tectonic shifts. Polar ice is melting so quickly that time itself could change on the planet, and both land and water are being poisoned. Permafrost is melting. Our continents are on fire. Animals are being driven by need into human areas, and COVID-19 is just the first huge global pressure we are going to be facing.
And so, on this night, different from other nights, we dip parsley, child of that razor-thin layer of topsoil, into salt water. This is not only for the sweat and tears of our ancestors in Mitzrayim, but also to know the taste of Gaza's drained and destroyed aquifer, now filling with salt water.
Gaza, we will never forget you. We will never forsake you. We will never stop fighting for you until all of your people live safe and free.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hadama. Blessed is the one who sustains all life and brings forth fruits from the earth. This Pesach, when we come to Yachatz, which is, what else is there to break? Our hearts are shattered, our worlds torn, our faith and hope in pieces on the floor. We have witnessed so much death and destruction. We feel powerless. It continues, the violence goes on. We break, and our broken pieces break. We crumble.
This Pesach, when we come to Yachatz, we can break with intention, to break what needs to be broken. We break the silence every day. We break through the thick layer of complacency. We break through all that keeps us frozen in fear inside of us, and all that keeps us separate, all that comes between us. May this moment of ritual be a time of creative, visionary, revolutionary breaking.
You're invited to take the middle matzah, break it in half. One half becomes the afikomen, we hide it away. We will later search for what remains. With the first half this year, you're invited to break it again, in half again and again. The systems of empire and domination that tell us to proceed as if nothing is wrong, we break their spells over us. The ideologies and oppressive institutions that want us to stay asleep, we break them. We break down the stories limiting what is possible. We let them crumble. We offer them to the earth. We break what needs to be broken until all are free.
Tonight, our tradition invites us to ask questions. Tonight, I wonder what Pesach questions are fit for a time of genocide. We need questions that inspire transformative answers and liberative action in us and in our communities to, at the very least, cease the current genocide in Gaza. Why is this Passover different than other Passovers? Genocide. The unique scale and devastating brutality of the current extreme escalation in Israeli state violence has murdered tens of thousands of Palestinians, still being counted, still being bombed, still being starved, still being murdered. At this very moment, Israeli forces are killing entire families and displacing countless others, now in a mass exodus from their homes, made refugees and ethnically cleansed en masse.
Why do we eat bitter herbs, maror, on this Passover amidst genocide? This is a time for mourning, not celebration. White phosphorus, other chemicals, and residue from bombs and bullets, tear gas, and debris from destroyed buildings all pollute the air, water, and soil, pollute the earth, pollute Palestine, pollute us all. This toxicity renders all celebration bitter. This year, we do not celebrate our liberation. We mourn ongoing genocide in which we are intertwined through our tax dollars, our religious, cultural, and political institutions, our identities, our own stories of liberation. This genocide, this mourning, this bitterness will not end when Pesach ends. Maybe the question is, should we eat only bitter herbs more until a permanent ceasefire? When a ceasefire comes, if a ceasefire comes, what will be left to celebrate then?
Why do we dip twice this Passover? Palestinians are starving and they are gunned down waiting for flour. They are thirsty and do not have access to potable water. Adding salt to water is an insult in times of blockade, strategic and intentional famine plaguing Gaza, surrounded on all sides by borders and bombs and salt water. Can dipping twice manifest a deeply self-critical reflection on privilege? Can it inspire action to end the siege, to feed the hungry, to satiate the thirsty? If we dip twice to remind ourselves of our privilege, of our responsibility to Palestinians rendered starving and thirsty in our name, then let us not stop dipping. Until Palestine is free, let us dip over and over again. Let us not forget our responsibility, our call to respond. Perhaps the salt becoming the sweat it will take to do the work. Dip repeatedly until Palestine is free.
Why do we use pillows and recline on Pesach during mass displacement? How can we recline when millions of Palestinians stand and sit and weep, prostrate outside their destroyed homes, when they experience forced migration, extreme housing insecurity, when there's no rest, no peace, no respite for Palestinians in Palestine, in so-called 4/8, or across the world as we watch on in horror? If we let our Passover amidst genocide be a triumphant celebration of our ancestral escape from slavery, our pride and joy will only underscore our deep shame. In fact, I'm moved to ask, does this year's Passover finally show that Pesach cannot be a collective celebration, but rather our collective acknowledgement of shame? This year, Pesach is a shanda, a shame, begging a different kind of commemoration.
The 10 plagues of biblical times were material plagues that targeted the oppressors who held the Israelites captive. As American Jews, we have been conscripted into the role of complicity with those oppressing, murdering, and destroying a people and their history. To accept this role is to sacrifice our own divinity. As you read these, ask yourself, which of these plagues have impacted you? Consider what you may have lost and what it might take to repair it.
Loss of foundational connection to truth. This plague separates us from our foundational truths as inhabitants of this planet. Where do we belong? What is home? How do we ground into connection with the earth? And what does it mean to do so?
Loss of ability to trust our dreams. This plague impacts our ability to dream as a Jewish people. The level of violence that we are witnessing and being asked to be complicit in requires us to separate from the messages of our subconscious and the magic of our dreams.
Loss of perspective. This plague impacts our ability to have a clear perspective on what is happening, what we want, and where we're going. we become split, unclear, and difficult to understand or relate to. Our perspective comes not from our own sense of reality, but from a disembodied dictate.
Loss of allies. This is the plague of isolation, where we make true our greatest fears by assuming that we are somehow uniquely positioned as victims and that any actions we take out of fear are justified. To the rest of the world, we appear terrifying and dangerous.
Loss of humanity. With this plague, we lose our place in the human family, the interconnection and common destiny that we all share as inhabitants of this planet. When we attempt to place ourselves outside of and above others, we sacrifice our own humanity.
Loss of hope. This is the plague of despair. It crumbles our belief in the possibility of transformation, severing connection with the loving God, sacrificing our faith to a punishing, warmongering, supernatural dictator.
Loss of empathy. With this plague, we lose our ability to feel anything for those who are harmed, whether by our own actions or by others. We find ways to blame people for their misfortunes and assume such things will never befall us if we stay strong and on top.
Loss of clarity. This plague impacts our ability to make sense of complex sensory input and to know ourselves as part of the world, operating by the same laws of the universe as every other sacred fragment.
Loss of wonder. This plague annihilates our ability to experience the world with openness and wonder, to appreciate the wisdom of child mind, and to merge with the infinite.
Soul loss. Who even are we? Those who have experienced all these plagues without consciously unwinding them are lost to themselves. Only when we experience this ultimate and final plague is it possible to commit the gut-wrenching atrocities we witness at the hands of Zionist soldiers.
Baruch al Shekhinah Eloheinu Ruach Haolam Barei Pri Hagafen. A fountain of blessing are you, sacred presence, who dwells within this world, who brings forth the fruit of the vine, who blesses us with alchemy. We're gonna One, two, three, four.
Hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, Hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu.
As we work for Palestine liberation, not in our name, a sacred incantation, may there be full end to genocide and occupation, Dayenu. Let us pray that it comes to be from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, Dayenu. At the start of the Seder, we washed our hands during Urchatz in a silent ritual cleansing. We now wash our hands with traditional hand washing blessing for the practical purpose of preparing to eat the Seder meal. As Lakota water protectors fighting against the Dakota Access Pipeline reminded us at Standing Rock in 2016, water is life. Our sacred rivers, tributaries, and oceans nourish the more than human world around us. As humans, we are made of water. Water, amniotic fluid, holds us in utero before we emerge into the world, and water holds our brains to float safely in a cocoon of cerebrospinal fluid. Water holds our tears. A human body can only live for about 3 days without drinking water. Water is our life.
As we wash our hands, we remember LaDonna Brave Bull Allard, Lakota matriarch of Fight and Victory against the DAPL, who passed in 2021. Manuel Tortuguita Terran, of Venezuela indigenous heritage, a Stop Cop City activist who passed in 2023. Clay Jones Benally, Diné land defender who died in 2023. 3 people are killed every week worldwide while trying to protect their land, their environment from extractive forces. Vandana Shiva, Decade of Defiance, Global Witness, September 2022 issue. In Palestine, water theft is a key tactic of colonization. 90% of the region's water is controlled by the State of Israel. Al Jazeera, 50 years of land theft explained. From the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, only 44% of Palestinians were connected to water sources before the war, which has decreased since October 7th due to Israeli settler damaging water systems and terrorizing Palestinians at checkpoints who are traveling to obtain water. Palestine, not enough water to survive, Norwegian Refugee Council. In Gaza, only 10.5% of Palestinians have access to reliable, clean drinking water before the war. The siege of Gaza's water after October 7th has resulted in a 95% drop due to targeted destruction damaging the majority of water treatment facilities.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu et nitilat yadayim. We give thanks for potable, safe, and accessible running water at our Seder tables. As we say together, blessed are you, Queen of the cosmos, Creator of water, who has sanctified us with stewardship and has directed us on the washing of hands. Blessing over matzah as food and as a special mitzvah. We now bless the matzah, the bread of affliction, and as we bless it and eat it, we dedicate ourselves to fighting oppression in all its forms so that never again shall anyone have to eat this bread of affliction, even as we understand so many currently suffer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min ha'oretz. Blessed is our God, the determiner of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Matzah embodies the enduring spirit of liberation that breathes life into our world. Just as it nourished those fleeing slavery, today it calls us to witness and act in solidarity with all who face oppression in Palestine, Turtle Island, Abiyallah, and beyond.
I'll be honest, maror has always confused me. In most Ashkenazi Jewish communities, the spicy horseradish is conventionally used as maror. Horseradish is both an indigenous substitution for the bitters and blatantly different aromatic, originating as a diasporic adaptation and later a rabbinic interpolation. Horseradish arrives at the Seder plate in the absence of seasonally available wild bitter greens like lettuces, dandelion leaves, and wild radish. But horseradish is not bitter, it is hot. To me, horseradish presence is a sign of cultural hybridity and the changingness of tradition, but it is also an invitation. What if I honor the horseradish with the ritual power and elevate it beyond a substitution?
This Pesach, I invite you to combine the truly bitter greens of maror with a new introduction to the Seder plate, zamor, a spicy, fiery element. Join me in integrating remembrance and clarity, grief and action, the sharp sadness of maror with the enlivening power of zamor. We need both bitterness and heat this year, because in the midst of the continued siege of Gaza, in the ongoing fear of hostages unreturned, with the devastation and displacement, disease and famine, as we witness the atrocity of complacency, With the excruciating upheaval of it all, we must dwell on the bitter grief of calamity while feeling the heated urgency of action.
Correct, known as the Hillel sandwich, named after the Talmudic scholar, is, if we want it to be, an encapsulation of how it feels to sit in the present. We feel the sweetness of coming together in community to hold and be held by others in this moment of fracturing and despair. At the same time, bitterness lies heavy on our palate, the daily death, displacement, and violence in Palestine. It feels impossible to hold these two tastes in our mouth. How can we feel the joy of connecting with others like us, Jewish and non-Jewish comrades fighting for liberation, while also recognizing the painful reasons we have found this community in the first place? For many of us, ostracized from the Jewish world, rejected by our families and friends, then threatened and doxxed by powerful institutions, there is bitter goodness in finding anti-Zionist Jewish home. There is sacred relief that comes with being in spaces, virtual or in person, across generations and ancestries, where we can look across the room and know that someone is there to accompany us in this moment. With Koretch, each bite is mourning. We mourn Jewish communities lost to the power of domination and ownership, to control and unhealed trauma. With Koretch, each bite is connection. We have built, are building, and will build the communities we need to sustain our journey to justice, freedom, and healing. Let this be the taste that lingers.
Tzafun is a section of the Seder where we search for the hidden Tzafun, Afikomen, and reunite it with its broken half. There is both an expansion and distillation that occurs with searching. Expansion because we see and discover new things we weren't expecting, while also a distillation as we hone in on what is that we are searching for.
When thinking about the act of searching, our minds may go to the hundreds of thousands of Gazans searching for family members, friends, and colleagues buried beneath rubble, to the millions of Gazans displaced from their homes, searching for somewhere safe to be. What are we searching for and uncovering in our commitment to Palestinian liberation?
The third cup for workers. The bodies tending, protecting, coiling, watering, sheltering, cutting, pruning, picking, crushing, stomping, fermenting, straining, watching, tasting. Bodies that sometimes come from bodies having done the same, often with pride and also deep fatigue, bleeding and calloused fingers, spasming backs, prickly lungs, and life-threatening heat stroke. Chances are no one here has attended a Seder where the workers weren't praised. Moses, after all, was an organizer, we're told. We're reminded of the Jewish support for union grape boycotts, that rabbis brought matzah to the 1966 United Farm Workers Lenten March, and that grapes were rendered oshek, unclean as the fruit of exploited labor, and that the first person to lose their life on a farm worker picket was Nan Freeman, an 18-year-old Jewish student supporting the strike, killed by a truck cashing the line. These stories help us to connect past and present and are important to tell. And as Adrian Rich reminds us, there is no one story and one story only. Tonight, though, we raise our glasses to the workers in all of Palestine, whose own land and fields have not only been stolen and torched by settlers and the occupying army, but whose union offices, records, and organizational infrastructure has also been destroyed. Amidst this, they call us all to recommit to deeper labor solidarity, building upon the many global strike days called over the past 6 months. May we come through. L'chaim.
Halal, fourth cup. As part of our search for Jewishness beyond Zionism, and as we head towards the end of the Seder and further into the ongoing Nachba, into the Korban Aza, destruction of Gaza, we ask, is this a holiday of liberation?
Can this be a holiday of liberation when it rests upon the fantasy of a divine land grant and colonial project whose death toll this winter we already cannot count? When the story it tells, both in its broad arc and specific gestures, is part of what feeds the genocide? Can this be a holiday of liberation when the mass slaughter of children is, as many progressive Haggadots depicted, an escalation of tactics? Can this be a holiday of liberation when the mighty hand and outstretched arm that supposedly bring freedom to the same force that 10 times over prevents escape from the narrow place through plague, environmental devastation, and massacre? None of these are incidental details which can be reinterpreted away. Removing 10 drops does not make a full glass of wine into less of a celebration. It just provides the thinnest of emotional alibis. These genocide warrants, these celebrations of genocide, these acts that enable more genocide are the core of the story. Hallel sums up the message in the prayer that accompanies the opening of the door.
Here's what the holiday asks the divine to do to entire peoples defined as enemy, in the words of two of the oldest versions of the text. May their palace be desolate, in their tents let there be no dweller. Let them be as chaff before the wind, with an angel of the Lord thrusting them. May their way be dark and slippery, with an angel of the Lord pursuing them. Give them a bereaving womb and dry breasts. Pursue them with anger, and destroy them from beneath the heavens of the Lord. You shall break them with an iron rod. Like a potter's vessel, you shall shatter them. Give them a weakness of heart. May your curse be upon them. May they be erased from the book of life and not be inscribed with the righteous. May their table before them become a trap, and their hope for peace become a snare.
We know these details. They are Rafah, Khan Yunis, Gaza City, Al-Shifra Hospital, Al-Khalil, Jenin, Al-Quds, Dir Yassin, Kibbutz Sheikh Jarrah, Susia. They are part of this holiday's song of celebration. They are what this holiday praises and seeks.
So this is a fourth cup of fourth questions for us to carry home. What in this story can we keep? What does not endorse, enable, praise, justify, nor demand genocide? What in this story should we discard completely and cease to include in any way within our practices? What in this story do we need to set aside, but continue to name in our practice so that we don't forget the complexities of our ritual histories and context?
What would it look like to create a Jewish liberation holiday that is not wrapped around genocide, warrants, and theocratic state building? A liberation holiday that doesn't trade other people's freedom, other people's lives in Mitzrayim and Canaan and Shushan, in the Greek-speaking Jewish world the Maccabees sought to annihilate in Palestine. For those of some self-appointed, hextured pure set of us, we don't yet have one, and we should.
May we create new kinships along the way, kinships that can outlive all forms of supremacy. May we reach a belonging our ancestors never got to have, and may we call out those who are not yet with us. If your heart is broken, may that breakage be a doorway. There is a family waiting for you. Hold a movement.
There is a custom upon completing the study of a book of Torah to proclaim Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazak, which translates as strength, strength, and may we be strengthened. So too, may we be strengthened in ourselves and with each other in our remembering, activism, and solidarity.
We return to our work. There is a path out of the narrow place to liberation. We have traced our ancestors' steps. The path is in our bones. Now fortified, nourished, this year in liberation for all. A future where all people across the region live in safety and lasting peace. It must start with the US government ending Israeli impunity and instead back the Palestinian struggle for freedom, justice, and equality. May it be so.
extinguishing the chalice.
And join me to extinguish the chalice. Words are in your little S. We
Extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. For these we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Now for our closing words. Blessed are we, betrayers of all counterfeit kinships, whose estrangement moves us toward an ancient and urgent togetherness. May we organize our ghosts to join us in the streets. May we wrench our shimmering multiplicities from the maw of militarism. May new homes be formed between our marching shoulders. And may we bless the signal threads, the spokes councils and care teams. Bless the interest form, the QR code, the recruitment spreadsheet with its infinite containers brimming with affinities that never existed until now. Bless all the sacred architectures we craft to catch our people and how our efforts stretch across time and space to weave a place for our folks to land in. Bless all the mundane work it takes for us to be dangerous together. Bless calling our friends and family to ask, do you want to get involved? Bless what we really mean. Do you want to build a new world together? Do you want to build a new us together? Bless how we refuse to leave the sterile offices of those who could stop a genocide, but who are choosing not to. Bless the children and grandchildren of refugees scaling the walls of warships to stop weapons from leaving the port. Bless how we link arms and lock ourselves to buildings to forge a chain that pulls us closer to the world we need. May we win real safety this time. And so ends the service. But before we go into the Parish Hall for our Passover buffet, I want to give a shout out to all those who made this event possible. To the other readers, Juliet Moore, Sarah Rachel Walters, and Ben Maxwell. To Dr. Carolyn Clark and our UCSI choir, and our gifted musicians, Eric and John Michaels, and our guest musician, Francis Brucci. To Juliet Moore for help with editing an enormously long Haggadah down to the essential version we presented today. To Sally Jones and Ben Maxwell for help with tech support. To Sarah Rachel Walters for organizing the buffet lunch, along with the team who contributed food and helped set up, Randy Leeson, Dave and Jade Michaels, Juliet Moore, Robin Lockmonda, Tom Saluga, and Kathy Santo. And to Dan Levin for outreach to SI for Palestine and Jews for Racial and Economic Justice. If I failed to mention anyone, it was not intentional. And now, please, join us in the Parish Hall.